So where does a band like Slipknot go after the tragedies that happened with All Hope Is Gone? What's up, ladies and gents in Cyberland? Coming back to another album review. This time we're moving on to Slipknot's fifth album. Call it 0.5, but the gray chapter. So after the misfortunes that happened with All Hope Is Gone, the mediocrity of how people felt about it, how the band felt about the album, and then also Paul dying and Joey Jordison being fired from the band for undisclosed reasons at the time, people felt like, was this it? Was Slipknot going to continue to make music, or was Corey going to do his own thing, and were the other members just going to do their own thing? It was a very questionable and scary time for a lot of people, because a lot of people love Slipknot. I just felt like I'd like to hear more music from them, but at the same time, I didn't really know how I felt when Paul died. I felt the band could still continue because there were so many members. Even no matter what Paul did for the band and what he was able to bring out of the members and how he was the glue and he held everything together, I still felt like they could continue. But when Joey was fired from the band, because apparently it came out years later that he could no longer play. He could not play drums. He had some type of medical illness or something to where he could not play. And the members were like, he had to go. But that subject matter has always been kind of questionable and touchy. And before I get in the album review, here's my theory. Because I heard some stuff was getting thrown around with Paul's death, and that certain people were kind of feeding into his addiction and not helping, and they kind of helped him. They kind of had a hand in him dying. Like they kind of were responsible. And that was something I had come across multiple times on forums, that people were saying that there was some issues with Paul Gray's wife and something with one of the members or a couple members with Paul's death. I don't know. However, what I think happened is I think Paul had a problem and people weren't taking it seriously. He, of course, wasn't taking it seriously. And he expired, and I think Joey was into some drug use. And I think Joey's situation was from drug use, was a consequence of drug use. And I'm going on a limb, this is just a thought. I think that Joey might have had some type of hand in what happened with Paul, and I felt the other members told him to clean up his act. It wasn't, or when he did, it was too late, and they just didn't have any sympathy for kicking him out of the band. Maybe there was some anger there with him about what happened with Paul, because when a member is having a physical ailment like what Joey had, I would think you wouldn't just shit can him. You would do something to help him get back on his feet. But that's not what happened. And I just feel like there was something that Joey wasn't doing, something he did. And though that situation never got resolved, and as a result, it was almost like a tit for tat. Because of all this stuff you did in the past, we're still, some of them are still mad at you. You gotta go. Like this was like we didn't have a reason to kick you out before, but now we do. And it just came off like that. It's speculation. It's a theory. That may not be the case, but as much as they had been through up until that point, I just think there was something. It wasn't just Joey couldn't play. I think there was a lot more with why they fired Joey than just because he couldn't play. And I think Paul's death really had something to do with it. Or they had blamed him for so many years because after All Hope Is Gone was done, they hadn't done anything, and maybe there was animosity. I don't know. It was just kind of odd. Anyway, we get this album, and this album is a good album, but it's better than All Hope Is Gone. However, it's just kind of like, it's the album of where do we go as a band? We don't have Joe anymore, and Paul is no longer amongst the living. And how do we proceed forward as a band? How do we keep this thing working and keep it together? And how are we going to interact with each other? How we make this album? We don't want an Iowa situation, but we also don't want an All Hope Is Gone situation. So how are we going to work together to make this album? And of course, the 2 tracks that got released was The Negative One and The Devil and I. And when I heard The Devil and I was like, that's cool. It was a step up from Psychosocial, in my opinion. But I wasn't like, I wouldn't say I was excited. I was just like, well, we'll see what happens when it comes out. Because it could be like All Hope Is Gone, or who knows. And when I heard The Negative One, that got me to where, it's also my favorite track, but that got me to be like, I think this is still going to work. I think the band is still going to be able to work. I think they're still going to be able to make quality music. And then the album comes out, picked it up, and there's a lot of songs on here that are talking about Paul to some extent and giving some type of tribute to him, and also them still grieving through the music with him not being there. They did get a new drummer, they did get a new bassist, but I guess they had a hazing going on for them for a while. Those 2 members had to be hazed, so they had to understand that you're not here just because, like, you need to earn it. Like, we're not going to treat you like the rest of the members. You're going to have to work your ass off to be considered, for us to even entertain you as really a member. And I think Clown was really the most vocal about it. And I get it, So they had a lot to prove, and apparently they did it. It took a little time, but over time they really were able to prove that they deserve to be there. And then I also have heard, I think that the 2 members don't have a number, that the number only sticks with the original members from the debut to now. That they have names and stuff, but they just don't have a number like the other members do. I would say it's almost like, I would say, listen to this album after you listen to All Hope Is Gone, so you understand it's almost like a sequel to it and who they're talking about. But it does stand on its own to a degree too. So the songs are a lot more better, well crafted, tremendously better than All Hope Is Gone. But it still has its moments where it's like, maybe it's going to be a little better, but it's still a great album. I listen to it a lot, just like the other works. Very happy for what they were able to accomplish at the time. So yeah, my top 5 tracks are The Negative One, Sarcastrophe, Skeptic, The Devil and I, and The One That Kills Least. So yeah, that being said, let's cue the music.
Opposing sides, your choices are the negative one and me. The negative one and me. I hope you live to see the day when your world goes up in flames. And as you die, you see my face. You're the only one to blame. Yeah. Fuck.